All right, welcome back, party people. I'm your host, Chris Langille. This is the next episode, the all-new episode of the Rise and Bind podcast, brought to you by Advisor Evolved. Today, I'm pumped to have a good friend of mine. I've known this guy for a long time, probably like 10 years, and it's been a long time. It's been a long time since it's been a long time since we caught up. Mr. Ryan Hanley, what's up, my brother? Thank you for jumping on with me, man.
So you guys won't know this because you just won't hear this portion, but when you click record on Riverside, it counts as a countdown, and Chris actually says the numbers. I've never seen anyone do that before. And then he doesn't say the one. So I was thinking in my head, I was doing like the Wayne's World thing where it's like 3, 2, and then he does the weird motion. Oh, bro, it's great to be here, man. Dude, it's funny that, you know, what we're going to talk about today, like you and I have been talking about this stuff for, I think in my head, it's like 12 or 13 years. Like it's been a long time, and how the conversation has changed, evolved, matured, but it's so similar to what we were talking about a decade ago. Inbound marketing, inbound leads, how we handle them, how we sell them. It is a defined and unique process. And, you know, anytime I get a chance to talk shit with you, I'm up for it.
Yeah. So what we're basically talking about today is really an overarching topic is, you know, generating positive ROI through inbound lead generation. And obviously, there's a lot of different dynamics that go into this. There's a lot of stuff that goes into generating leads and closing leads. And it's a big problem that a lot of agencies have. And I think that agencies, they're fascinated and almost, you know, they want leads. They think leads are the solution to their problem. It's really customers that are the solution to their problem. A lead is not a customer. And I think psychologically, people kind of think they're one and the same. And that's where the issue comes, because, you know, we do a lot of digital marketing for clients, and it's a problem that we see with a lot of them. It's a common denominator where, you know, they get 60 leads in a month, and it's like, we have a review call with them and, you know, how many did you close? And they're like, you know, and a lot of the times they're literally just not getting back to the people in time, and they're going elsewhere. But a lot of it is they're just not prepared from a sales perspective to be able to handle an inbound lead. And I'm sure you're gonna knock this out of the park, because we both know, and some of the people listening know, you know, an inbound lead is very different from a warm referral that a lot of agencies are used to working with, right? A warm referral is basically 80% sold, right? It's like someone going into a car dealership. They're already pretty much sold. You just have to do the paperwork and like make sure you're not doing anything shady, and you're good to go. But talk about, you know, maybe some of the differences between, you know, inbound, outbound, and kind of what you've seen. Because I know you have a course that you released recently that we're going to talk about too. I think that's going to be a bigger deal than maybe even you realize it is right now. But talk a little bit about that, man, because this is something that a lot of agencies struggle with.
Yeah, I think it probably makes sense just to give anyone who hasn't heard my story before just a little bit of background so they have context on the comments I'm about to make. I've been in the business for 20 years. I started as a boots on the ground producer, doing business the very traditional way, hawking home and autos. The internet was barely even in existence then, so the idea of inbound leads was really just referrals. That was it. And I was driving to strip malls and selling personal lines across kitchen tables and shit. And I did that for 8 years. The first 2 years of which were the very traditional way. And I was terrible at it. And I was actually fired by my father-in-law. Literally called me in his office. I was working for my father-in-law at the time. Called me in his office and he said, "Hey man, I don't think this is working. You might want to go find something else. Like, you know, thanks, but no thanks." Mm-hmm. And I convinced him. I literally got down on my knees. I said, "You don't want me to go home to your little girl and tell her this, because I don't want to have that conversation. And I know you don't want to have that conversation." So we agreed to an extension. But what I knew had to change was how I did business, because at that time, the idea of cold calling, stepping into someone's business, like interrupting their day, that didn't work for me. So I was kind of pushed in this direction out of necessity. And I started doing things online, generating leads. You know, I don't want to get too much into that because it's just not necessarily relevant, but I was doing YouTube videos and all this kind of stuff, and leads started to come in. And at first, I didn't have any more success, right? I was still fumbling, still dropping the ball. My numbers, I had more activity, but not necessarily more sales. So this is when I started to dig into how could that possibly be? Because I'm saying what I feel are the right things. I have more opportunities to sell. Oh, these people are contacting me. Like my numbers should be going up more than they were. And that's when I started to dig into the psychology of an inbound buyer versus the way that we've always done business, either a warm referral, as you said, or some sort of cold call or cold outreach type of scenario. With an inbound lead, it's a completely different mentality in approaching the purchase of insurance. They have at some point researched you. They've gone to your website. They've watched a video. They've read an article. They've seen an advertisement. And, if you believe the statistics that come out from like HubSpot, et cetera, in most cases, someone who fills out a form on your site or emails you or picks up the phone and actually calls in as an inbound lead to your agency, they've seen between 7 and 12 touches at a minimum before they decide to contact you. What that means is this person has a feeling for who you are, right? They've decided they like your tone, your style, your logo, how you explain things. Like they've made a decision that you're the guy, you're the gal. They've made that decision in your head. All they're trying to do when they call is validate that decision. Mm-hmm. That's what they're trying to do. So if I were to reach out to your agency, Chris, and I said, I said, hey, I'm interested and I need a workers' comp policy, and you start going, well, hey, we have 30 carriers and we've been in business for 50 years, and you're in this industry, and you start barfing features and stats and solutioning right away. I go, whoa, hold on. I already know what I want. Like I want to just make sure you're the guy. And once I kind of realized that my job from an inbound lead perspective was not to sell them, but to validate the decision they had made to call me, everything changed. That's when my entire career changed. That's when I was testing this at trustedchoice.com. I tested this again when I actually left the industry for a year and became the CEO of a fitness franchise. I didn't leave the industry because I didn't like the industry. There was some personal stuff that went around that. And then I started my own agency, Rogue Risk, in 2020. And we were able to grow that agency so fast using this philosophy that we were purchased by SIA in 2022. And then I ultimately exited from that business at the end of 2023. And we grew that business. We were able to grow that business with the speed, only writing small commercial, because we completely changed the way we approach them. And if you are unwilling to acknowledge that, learn what those psychological principles are and how you address them in a call differently than you do everything else, you will continue to struggle with inbound leads. It's proven at this point. Like I've literally battle tested every psychological principle possible and every process, and literally we battle tested, and this is in the course, we battle tested every word, dude. Literally every word of the script has been tested. And we got to the point where like, this is how we do it.
Every word matters in sales. I've said that a couple of times. Like, a good friend of mine, Anthony, he's like my little brother. Basically, he works for me and he does a lot of our demos and onboarding calls and stuff. And I've had that conversation with him before too, because it's like what you say, every little word needs to be dissected. And it's a constant ongoing practice, right? Like you never really fully master it because you're working with so many different personality types, and what sells one person the car or the house or the website may not sell 50 other people, right? So it's there's a lot that goes into that, but it is also worth mentioning, right? There's some people that kind of have this down, and some people are born with that type of vibrant personality where they can win you over without having to dissect every little word, and other people don't have that talent. It's just like professional athletes, right? Like not everybody can hit a baseball. Like you're born with a certain talent or gene makeup that you have better hand-eye coordination than 95% of the other people in the world. It's just some people are born with that type of personality as well. And I think, for the people that aren't, I know, and you might as well just start talking about it now, because I know we're going to probably somehow partner up on this where we can try to help roll this out to people, because we talk to a lot of agencies, right? And we're at the point now where we probably turn down more than we take on for digital marketing, because it's just a sniff test, right? Oh, you're a one-man shop. Oh, okay. You're also like the chief cook and bottle washer. Like, you're not going to be able to close sales, dude. You're not going to have the time in your day to call these people back right away. And you know, you don't know how to use your CRM properly. Like, well, let's talk in another year, like after you're a little bit more established and you have the technology going, and maybe you have a CSR to alleviate some of those like day-to-day tasks. And it's like, you know, every agency is different, but talk a little bit about the course, because this is kind of fascinating. I know you've been working on, me and you threw around an idea about this like a year ago, a possible joint kind of project or whatever. We both were busy, and kind of you went your way and I went mine, but what's the course called again?
So it's called Master of the Close. If you go to masteroftheclose.com, you guys can check it out. And you know, I think it's relatively inexpensive. I'm not trying to become a millionaire off this. You know, the idea, guys, is that we mastered this process through my agency, Rogue Risk. And for a whole bunch of reasons, which are not relevant or probably appropriate to discuss, you know, that agency doesn't exist anymore. But what I didn't want was for the process to die. I firmly believe, and I think from some of the numbers I can even prove, this is the best inbound sales process that exists. Inbound, right? You could take some of the ideas and apply them in other spaces, and that's great. But for inbound marketing, for someone who raises their hand and says, I want to work with you, that's what they're doing, right? When someone fills out a form, or they call you, or they text you, or whatever it is, they are choosing you. That is a completely different mentality. Okay, so how do we get there? Because you made a great point, right? You made a great point. How you approach one prospect can't be how you approach every prospect. True. However, in order to systematize our business and drive our numbers up, because that's what the lead game is, a volume game. So those egotistical chest thumpers that are listening to this, who want to write 10 accounts a year, I love you, but this is not going to be for you. It's not, right? This is for people who are doing volume, who want to put policies on the board, who want to get people in as clients. So we had to build a process, and I had to build a process that was the same every time, but was malleable to different scenarios, different personality types. Because someone may come in and they're a talker. Like, I'm a talker, right? You know that about me, and everyone listening probably knows it about me by now, right? I can make words come out of my face fast. Other people, it's kind of like pulling teeth. You know, you're probably going to interview someone like that. I've had people like that on my podcast, where you're like, you ask them a question, they give you a 3-word answer, and they start staring at you like, next question, please. And you're like, wait a minute, you know, give me more. So we had to create a process that worked that. So the very first thing that, and I'll tell you, Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference, had a big influence on me here. And it started with understanding the power of open-ended questions, right? Most of us, when we're questioning people in a standard insurance process, do not, open-ended questions. Chris, what is your revenue? How many employees do you have? These are closed questions. They are 2, right? I have 2 employees. I have 300,000 in revenue, whatever the numbers are, right? They're closed questions. In order to understand the risk, figure out whether it's qualified or not, meaning do we want to work with them, as you just described with your digital marketing clients, right? We have to ask them an open-ended question. But here's the problem most salespeople make. They read these ridiculous influencer guru sales books on open-ended questions, and it's some long meandering thing that feels like you're selling me like, some course that I don't need, that's going to have 17 layers and 14 upgrades, and you're just trying to milk me for money. It's like, that shit doesn't work. You have to talk people like they're real people. Most people who own businesses are everyday people, right? They have a fuck ton of things that they have to do in a day, and talking to you as an insurance agent is one of the things they probably hate the least.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I know. Nobody, and this is going to go to anyone out there who's listening, and probably your audience is more skewed against this, but anyone out there who's listening who's saying, well, most inbound leads are price shoppers, or most inbound leads don't give a crap, they're just going to call 20 people. Do you know why an inbound lead calls 5 other agents? Because you didn't do your fucking job. You didn't nobody wants to call 5 insurance agents in a day.
No.
I'm in the industry, and I love the industry, and I don't want to talk to 5 insurance agents in a day.
Yeah.
Right? So like, nobody wants that. If they call 5 people and you're number 1, you didn't do your job. Your job is to make them feel understood, heard, right? Let them explain what's happening and validate their decision for calling you. So what I call this process is the one call close process. That does not mean we are closing this lead on the call. We are not. That may happen in exception cases. Someone may have an account that's, pretty straightforward, and the market, and you can go in, you say, hey, let me just ask you, okay, how's, $1,200, right? That may occasionally happen, but it's not the goal. The goal is to do everything you need to do, that you only need one call to close it.
Sure.
Because the number one reason people get ghosted is because of the follow-up call. I already spent 30 minutes on the phone with you, Chris. Now I need to take another hour so you can pitch me on why you're amazing. I got shit to do. Send me my freaking quote so I can move on with my life, right?
Yep.
So what we're trying to do on the one call close is we waterfall through a series of psychological principles that allow that prospect to feel heard, understood, validated, and ultimately confirm their decision that you are the solution provider they're looking for. I'll give you the first question in the process. The very first question in the one call close process goes like this. Hi, Chris. Thanks for reaching out. My name's Ryan. I work for insert agency name, right? What's going on? How can I help? That's it. Then you shut the up. Because what's going to happen is, here's what's going to happen. I know, everybody out there, guys, and I know because I am you. Trust me. How I got to this place is not because I'm brilliant. It's because I have this broken brain that just keeps going forward. I have made every mistake. What we want to do in that moment is go, Chris, I got 30 carriers, man. I've been in business for 20 years. I got a team of 20 people back here. You're going to have a dedicated account manager. I've written 100 policies like this. And the person's going, wow. Right? What's going on? How can I help? And shut up. Because here's what's going to happen. They're going to barf on you everything that you need to close that account. Everything you need.
And then some.
Yeah, and that's okay, right? You just be quiet. I literally just sit there. And in the course, I give you a printable PDF that literally walks you through the whole thing where you can fill out, right? But like literally, it's usually 1 to 3 things, sometimes as many as 5, but usually 1 to 3 primary concerns, right? So it'll go something like, well, Chris, so say you're the agent now. Well, Chris, I just hired my first employee, and I think I'm supposed to have workers' compensation insurance. I'm not really sure how to do that, but man, I heard it's really expensive and the state requires it. And I reached out to my agent, but they didn't get back to me. So here's what I just heard. One, I heard hiring a new employee, right? And they're unsure of what's happening. So there's some uncertainty, right? There's some uncertainty there, right? So I'm writing down uncertain of what to do. I just wrote down reactive service from the agent, non-responsive, right? And they're probably going to say something, especially if they have workers' comp issue. Usually what follows that is, and man, I know that I need to get certificates out for this. Like this has to be included in my certificate because now that I have an employee, I can't get on job sites without a certificate. I can't get paid, right? And sometimes, this is the reason I'm reaching out, man. Like it goes to the thing with not getting back to me. Like I'll reach out for a certificate and, my agent might take a day or two, and sometimes I don't have that time. Sometimes I need it, right? So I'm going, okay, great. They have a cert issue, too slow, right? So now price doesn't matter. Price doesn't matter, right? Location definitely doesn't matter. I don't need to share the same air as them. They're talking to me on the phone, right? What matters to them is they need some certainty around what they actually need and that they're going to get the right thing. They need to know that I'm going to respond to them when they actually have an issue. And there needs to be a process that they can trust around certificates. I know I'm going to close this account. It's done. At this moment, it's done. They will never call another person. I will lock this person in and they're toast. Okay? Because I just wrote down the 3 things that matter. Now, what most agents are going to start doing is solutioning at this point because they just heard the problems. Don't solution. Never solution. Never solution until you deliver the proposal. Right? Yeah. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how smart you want them to think you are, right? When you start solutioning, it's a sign of insecurity. It's a sign of self-doubt.
People can sniff that out.
You're trying to prove to the prospect how smart you are. Guess what people who are really smart don't have to do? They don't have to prove it to anybody, right? When you're a gangster, You walking around going, I'm a gangster?
Right.
No, you just got your switch swinging from side to side and everyone looks at you and points at you and calls you a gangster, right? You're not saying it. You don't have gangster written across your chest, right? Like, you don't need a solution, don't solution, right? So once we figure out what their problem is, right? These 3 problems that I have in this scenario, the next thing I'm going to do is paraphrase and confirm. So I'm going to come back to you because now I want you to feel heard, right? So first of all, you've established a connection with the person because you asked them a question, did not interrupt them, and let them speak for as long as they needed. Think about the last time your spouse asked you a question and then shut up and let you just barf your whole answer on them. How good do you feel when that happens, right?
Yeah,
You're like, oh my God, she does love me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she likes me. This is awesome, right? Right? Like, you feel great when you just get to talk. So what we now want to do is make sure we let you feel heard, right? So I'm going to come back to you and go, okay, Chris, I heard that you have you're a little uncertain about what these policies are and what you actually need. Is that true? Yes. Okay, great. And I heard that, maybe right now you're getting some reactive service and you'd really like some proactive service. Maybe that, like, if we see something or something happens, we're reaching out to you. Yes. Okay, great. And certificates are important in your business to get paid, to get on job sites. And you really would like a defined process that you can trust for certificates of insurance. Yes. Okay, great. So 2 things. 1, how good do you feel that I know exactly what your problems are, right? Imagine if your wife comes back to you and goes, honey, I just heard that you'd really like it if I made myself available to you more often sexually. Is that true? Yes. Right? So how good do you feel? You feel great. You feel like you were heard. You feel awesome. And I've now started to establish a waterfall of yeses. Right now we're moving down this process of yes. Okay. So after that happens, we move into a section. I'm not going to get into all the details. I'm just going to give you kind of the first part, not because I care to not share it. I just want to talk about other things. But we get into this section where it's called establishing next steps. One of the things that I found that I did not do well at all. And when I researched this and I actually would call people who said no and say, look, I'm not selling you anything. I just want to know why you said no. Right. And for the people that actually ghosted me that I could actually then get a hold of at some point. So this might not have been, this is probably like a half dozen people. So just so you understand the sample size, most of the time when someone ghosts you or goes someplace else is because they were unsure of what was happening next, right? You took all their information, didn't give them a timeline or tell them what you were doing or how the process worked moving forward. So what we want to do next is establish the next steps of the process and get them to commit to those next steps. But inside of that, there's 2 things that I call kill shots, okay? One is, right, after we've established and we've confirmed, I'm going to say, Chris, here's the good news. I've worked with hundreds of businesses like yours. We got you. The 3 words, we got you, are what I call a kill shot. Those 3 words lock that person in. 1, they've never heard that from anyone else. No one, because no one talks like that because it's real language. It's not corporate language, right? So they've never heard someone talk to them like that before. We got you. How good does it feel when someone says, we got you? Like, what if after your wife paraphrased and confirmed your need for more sexual activity, and then she goes, you know what, honey? I got you. You'd be like, what do you want? I'm going to go to the jewelry store right now. What do you want? You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, amazing. And that's what you're giving this person. You're saying, hey, this uncertainty that you have, this frustration that you have, don't worry, I got you. Your problems are solved, right? Now, you're not done yet, but you've got them. And it's this type, it's thinking through, if we just go off the surface of the words, it's very hard. This is why I do take people deeper into the psychology of it, because when we understand what we're trying to do for someone, right, it starts to make much more sense. Because I find everyone wants to take the script and change it in a million ways, and they go, why doesn't this work? It doesn't work because the words are specific to how we're locking people in emotionally. So I'll stop there for a second because I've been talking for a while. But
no, it's awesome.
That gives you a little preview of what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I wanted you to talk because it's, it sounds simple on the surface,
It's
right?
super simple.
But it's one of those things where there's a lot of things that are easy to do, but it's a matter of execution. I remember when I was at AIG, and this is not to get into a long-winded story, but similar process, very defined sales process. We were all on phones. We were wearing headsets, sitting in cubicles. This is another lifetime ago. but they had such a machine going at AIG at that time. It was just unbelievable. I mean, there was 25 reps on the floor just for the homeowners insurance and umbrella insurance product. And then auto was on a different like wing of the building. And I mean, I don't know how much premium they wrote a day, but it was a lot. And it was because, again, they were very into the psychological. They would record, every call was recorded and scrubbed. And that's another thing too. I talked to other people and, you know, that are in the sales game and outside of our industry. And they're like, you know, like every call needs to be recorded, you know, like that's a non-negotiable. And, you know, who knows? I mean, maybe that's another, not that you have time to sit around and listen to a bunch of sales calls, but I'm sure if you figured out a way to monetize that, it could be another like perk or a package or something for your course. Cause it's like, I think people would want to know your opinion to be like, dude, you know, here's our producer. Like they've been flatlining the last 2 years with production. Like, what are you hearing, seeing, noticing, you know, here, listen to the call or here's 10 calls that I recorded, you know, and then now you're taking a couple hours to sit down and, you know, I think that would be, honestly, that'd be a great idea because here's the thing, like,
I mean, I'm going to be adding that over the weekend.
Here's the thing, like as a business owner and even myself, right? Like I've been building websites and doing digital marketing for 15 years. Like I'm so close to what I do that sometimes you do need an outside perspective, even though you are the pro, you know everything there is to know, you've seen and done it all. You still sometimes need somebody to be like, dude, like do it this way or do it that way.
Coaches need coaches.
Coaches need coaches. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think there's a lot of people that might actually do that. But yeah, it's one of those things like words matter, and like the whole thing, like you said, we got you. It's confident, you know, it comes across as confident. It comes across as like reassuring. Like you said, people aren't used to that, and you know, I think with sales, you know, you have to be confident. Like it's funny when I was at AIG, and I'll tell you right now, I was not the best rep on the floor. I was one of the better ones. There was this dude on our floor. I'm gonna ping him too. He's still a buddy of mine. We message back and forth. Brian DePasquantonio. We call him Deepak. This dude was just unreal. Like he would close like 9 out of 10 sales. And it got to the point where like AIG was very corporate. It got to the point where like he was like working from home. Like they let him work from home because he was just like that dude. And a big part of it was the confidence, like,
yeah.
And, you know, obviously like he was not afraid to ask for the sale. Like I sat across from him like one cube up. Like I'm like 22 years old. We're like 22 years old at the time. And I could just hear him saying like, your premium is going to be $798 a year. What credit card do you want to use? And like, I would just hear him. I mean, he bullied people and he bullied some people into the sale, but a lot of the times he didn't have to do that. But if he had to, he would. Yeah. Brian, he was, I don't know what he's doing these days, but he was a stud, man. And it's like, again, he had the talent. I think he had like the talent, the personality for it, but also like embraced
you worked the process,
the script, the process that AIG gave us. Yeah.
Dude. So okay. So I want to touch on two things. One, like another piece of pushback that I've gotten both from producers or sales reps. So guys, you know, I've used versions of this and I use it in the fitness business. We use versions of this and other businesses that I've been in, not this particular because it took me that much time to hone it. But I get pushback from people, from killers, right? From natural killers. I get a lot of pushback on the script because there is this egotistical aspect to killers that say, I don't need the script. I'm better than the script. I'll close more with the script. Now, that never was true, right? So the numbers on this is the average producer that would come into Rogue would start at around a 35 to 40% close ratio on qualified leads. And inside of 3 months, we'd have them up over 80%. My own personal record that I tracked over 9 month period, 9 months, right? That's hundreds of closed accounts was 89.2%. Right? I was closing almost 9 out of every 10 qualified leads. Wow. Right? So people go, what's a qualified lead? Qualified lead is something that we could write. Right? So like, I don't write international insurance. I didn't write oil and drilling. I didn't write, there's certain stuff that we just didn't write. But if it was qualified, right? Almost 9 out of every 10. So it was because this is exactly what I said every single time. Maybe a word here or whatever, but it was the same thing. And at the beginning, guys, I literally read it off of a piece of paper. Like, this isn't like I had it all up in here memorized. It took me, and what I would do is like, that didn't work. They didn't respond to that, scratch that. And like, I had notepads and notepads of versions of this until I tested all these things. And then I would put it out to my team and have them test it. And okay, so this is kind of the idea. But if you really want to crank, right? If you really want to dial up the number of accounts that you're putting on the books, it is about consistency. It's not art. This isn't an art form. Closing. Everyone wants to act like sales is an art. It's not a fucking art. It's not an art. It is an art when it's Wolf of Wall Street or whatever, but those are movies. The best closers, the absolute killers, both in enterprise BD all the way down to, selling $5 trinkets, use a friggin' process. And they say the same stuff over and over and over again, and they only tweak it when they find something that works better. So I want to get to the closing part, right? Because I think you made a good point about bullying the close. What I found was, so we used video proposals. You and I have talked about this 1,000 times. Most of you listening will never use video proposals. Again, that's your ego and your insecurity talking. That is not real. It's not that you're not good on camera. It's not that you don't sound good on whatever. It's ego or insecurity, one of those two things. Video proposals are like, especially if you set them up properly. So if you just send someone a video proposal, which is a mistake some people make, without telling them they're getting a video proposal, it's not going to work. But we would set up the video proposal and go through it. I'll put a little hook in here. So I am being a good salesman. You got to go to masteroftheclose.com and become a member in order to figure out exactly how we did that. But we used video proposals because it makes the interaction real, right? One of the main issues with selling insurance is that we sell an intangible product, right? So, but when I give them a video proposal, I become a face, all right? A voice attached to a face. And if we do the video proposal properly, which I want to explain because I think we had a unique way of doing it, something I did not expect that ultimately became a part of our process. If you do it properly, you make the product tangible. Okay. So when we delivered a video proposal, it would go something like this. Chris, once I finish doing my work, I'm going to deliver what I find as my recommendation for you based on our conversation today. I'm going to deliver it in a video proposal, okay? It's going to be basically an email, and it's going to have 3 parts. The first part will be the body of the email. I'm just going to give you a high-level overview of what I found, etc. Then I'm going to include a link to a video that I would really like for you to watch. I promise you it'll be no longer than 3 to 5 minutes. Most of them are only 3, right? But like, it's really important you watch because it's exactly why I'm choosing this package, this policy, whatever it is, for you, okay? And then the last thing, and dude, this is the part that I never would have expected and found by accident. The last thing I'm going to do is attach the carrier proposal to the email, right? And it's what I'm going to go through in the video. Okay. And I get pushback on the carrier proposal because carrier proposals are ugly and disgusting and they have the carrier brand on them and all these reasons, right? They're long and some of them don't make sense. The uglier, the more like single state domiciled dot matrix PDF version you can get, the better, because what it shows is transparency. It shows transparency. What does everyone think about our industry? We're bait and switch and it's a big game and they think all this shit, right? We know it's not, but they think it is, right? So by giving them the carrier proposal, what we do is we say, you now have everything I have.
Yeah, you have it in writing.
Here it is. This is, I don't have anything more than this. This is what they told me it's going to be.
We're not making these numbers up.
We're not making these numbers up. Now, I'm also anti-proposal even in middle market, but I get that middle market guys are big chest-thumping, ego-driven dudes and they want to see their logo and their name on it. I get it, right? There's nothing wrong with that, guys, but look, it gives me something to make fun of you about because it's kind of douchey. But in my opinion, right, I want this person to trust me. That's what we're trying to do. And trust is built through transparency, right? Like if you wanted me to trust you, you would tell me some little schmoogie about your life that's a little off kilter. And I'd go, oh, if he's so willing to be open about that, he must be a good guy. Okay. If I'm willing to show you this disgusting, hard to read, non-branded document that I got from a carrier, I must not be the kind of guy that pulls rugs.
Yeah.
And when you think about the whole thing, it's about establishing trust, respect, connection. Last thing I'm going to say about this particular topic, and then we can move on. In the video proposal, okay, and I have had people in the past. It's been probably during my Rogue days, I was helping a couple people, and this is, not for money or coaching or whatever, it's just helping a couple people who are interested. The mistake that they would make in the video proposal was that they would read it and they would spend all their time on price and coverage. We established at the beginning of this call that the prospect, not that they don't care about price, but their issues were uncertainty, proactive service, and COI process, right? So when I would pull up the carrier proposal, I use Loom for everyone listening. I actually delivered my proposal. I don't think they do it as a standalone product anymore, but I used Better Agency Proposals or whatever. It used to be Grant Botma's company. I can't remember what the name was back then. Whatever it was. But you can just do it in a regular email. You don't need actual software. But so I pull up the Loom video and I pull up the proposal. My little face is in the circle in the bottom left-hand corner. And I'd say, hey, Chris, Ryan here, face and a name. Nice to meet you, man. Okay. Hey, here's the carrier, right? Here's the price. Awesome price. So happy with this. $1,700. Great. This, steady rates with this company. Wonderful. Okay. Here's the 1 million, 2 million. That's standard, right? You need 15 BPP. Okay. Awesome. Dude, you had told me quickly as you can, 45 seconds, 30 seconds on price and coverage, because they don't give a shit, right? What you, as quickly as you can, transition to, dude, or miss or whatever, you told me that uncertainty was one of your issues. I'm telling you right now, this is exactly what you need for these reasons, right? You needed a workers' comp policy with X amount of coverage. You're properly classified. We've double checked that, your NACE code and everything, whatever it is that gives them the certainty in there, you explain that to them in short order. And then you move on to, and you also told me that reactive service is one of your issues. I want you to know inside here, we use a couple pieces of technology that allow us to always stay ahead of your account, right? So about 129 days out, we're getting notification about a renewal and we're always watching and checking it. And look, it's very possible that next year when you renew, you should probably stay where you are. Most carriers don't change pricing too much in a year. However, we're always going to reach out and tell you, even if our recommendation is that you stay where you are. And if it's not, and we do want to shop this policy, then we'll reach out as well. So we're always kind of looking out. And then lastly, you talked about certificates of insurance and having a process. We have a 2-hour guaranteed turnaround time. I can explain how we did that, but that was what it was, right? We had a process. I said, so you give us a text or an email, and we will turn that COI around in 2 hours or less for you. On average, it's around 37 minutes, but within 2 hours, you'll have your COI. Dude, I can't wait to work with you. I'm really excited. All you need to do is hit let's do it. Just type let's do it back to me in the email. I'll send you the e-sign. We're good to go. Boom, done. 3 minutes, 3 minutes and a half, 4 minutes tops, out to them. I'm addressing the things that I paraphrased and confirmed, because those are the things that are going to close the deal, not price, not whatever. It's those things. And if you do that all you'll get back is let's do it, or this looks great. And now you never talk to the person again. E-sign goes out, sign, boom, boom, done. Now you didn't waste your time or their time with another call. Locked in. And you can automate like 90% of that shit anyway. So you're not even really handling the e-sign. I mean, a lot of that is done automatically. So that's, that's kind of the process there. But to me, video proposals are an absolute no-brainer if you want to operate at volume. It's just, there's no other way to go.
So not to throw a shameless plug in, but I'm going to do it anyway. So we have a video proposal tool that's fully integrated, custom built into our website product called Quote Vids. Which it's similar to Loom, but it has its own recording mechanism. But we built a really cool wrapper around it. I don't want to give away too many secrets or features, but it's been an absolute game changer. I mean, we have people all the time that are like, Chris, like, dude, I wish we knew about this 10 years ago. Like we have 100% close ratio since we got our website with you. And that's another thing too, like websites.
So everyone knows, if I were starting an agency today, website with Advisor Evolved, and I would absolutely use that tool. I've seen it. We were talking about when you built it, right? Like
it's
awesome,
kind of
built it like halfway through Rogue Risk. Like we were kind of in the second half of it, but like, dude, I can tell you guys, and it's not just because Chris is my buddy, it's fucking rock star. That video proposal thing you built is rock star. We just pushed out a new version not that long ago that does some other cool stuff. So you can kind of tie it into Zapier. You can push out automations when people click accept. It's really cool. But I mean, it's one of those things too, like, you have the process,
you have the words that you dissect, you're using the right words, and then you have a tool like that. I mean, that for people out there that are worried about ROI, digital marketing, and you want to improve that, I mean, check out the course. What's the website again? I'm sorry.
Masteroftheclose.com. Yeah, Master of the Close.
Master of the Close.
For listeners of the show, use Closer20, CLOSER 20, Closer20 for 20% off. Just type that in at checkout. But I want to make a point to something you just said. So one of the things that we're not great at in our space is tracking our sales process. We're good at tracking our sales results. We usually know how much revenue we make in a month, et cetera, how much premium we put on the books. But from number of leads to closed revenue, we have a big gap in analyzation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So another reason why I'm an enormous proponent for using tools like your video proposal tool, like a CRM, et cetera, like a standardized sales script that we use every time, is because we can track where the gaps are in our process, where we might have a leak in our funnel, right? So if we're only looking at leads and we get 100 leads, and 1 month we do, 50,000 in revenue, and the next month we do 15,000 in revenue, but you're only tracking leads and revenue, why? What's the difference? Oh, well, the leads might not have been good this month. How do you know? Right? How do you, if you have 100 leads both months and different revenue, why? What happened? So another reason why I'm an enormous proponent for systemizing this process, tracking it, and using tools that allow us to do it and doing it consistently is because if we get 100 leads 2 months and 1 leads is down, or 1 month is down in revenue, and then we get into our process and we go, wait a minute, our two boneheads, Steve and Tom over here, weren't using video proposals this month.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden we go, wait a minute, so we're good here, we're good through our script, we're good through collecting information, but then for some reason, our close ratio at the video proposal fell apart. What happened? And Tom and Steve are like, we tried it, and we just don't really feel comfortable on video. Well, now you can go coach up Steve and Tom and tell those two boneheads that, hey, you got to use video proposals.
Yep.
If we're not, total leads, qualified leads, right? And then how many leads are we putting back into things like a long-term drip hopper because maybe they're a good fit, just not a good fit now, things like that. If we don't have those analytics in place, and it's not like you need 17 numbers, right?
Sure.
Just the core parts of the process. Now you can actually go back in as a leadership team and figure out what the real problems are, right? Maybe I don't have an advisor evolved website with quote proposals, and I'm doing this process, and I feel like I should be closing more than I am, right? And I can go, I heard these two guys talking on a podcast about video proposals. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe our close ratio go up. Let's try that. Then you can try it, test it for a couple months, see the result. If it goes up, keep it. If it doesn't, throw it out, go do something else. Like, we tend to get so hung up on total lead volume and revenue, and we forget that there's all these places in that funnel where things can fall apart. And it's our job as leaders to fix those leaks in our funnel.
Love it, man. So for everybody listening or watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Rise and Bind podcast, by the way, on YouTube, and check it out in your favorite podcast app. But and definitely check out the course. I mean, Ryan, I know, like I said, I've known you for a long time, and I know that you geek out on this, and I know that the course is, I don't know what you're charging. I honestly have no idea. I've never been to the site.
$397 one time.
Oh, Jesus, dude. Yeah, I mean, okay, I thought it was like monthly or something. No, that's a no-brainer. I mean, that's an absolute
I made it
no-brainer.
no-brainer. Like, look, if I'm being completely honest, over time, I'm going to have more product offerings. I'm going to build a community. I'm going to do all that stuff. But I'm being 100% sincere when I say to you guys that the reason that I put that price point for this material together was because I simply don't want this process to die.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want it to die. I believe in this so much that, like, I just want to give massive value to people. It's $400 at full retail, and I just gave you 20% off, right?
Yeah, no, I love that.
Like, that's what it is. Like, this works. I just wanted to get out there. If you want to buy more stuff from me, I can find things for you to buy, right? But this process works, and it's there. And Master of the Close, like I said, Closer20. Dude, do you mind if I give a quick shout out to Langille?
No, go for it, man.
So If you're wondering, hey, you exited your agency in November 2023, like what the hell have you been doing? So I had a bunch of angel investments and sat on a couple boards. And one of the companies that I sat on the board of is a company called Langille, and they were doing some really cool stuff in AI and commercial insurance, which commercial insurance is really my passion in terms of the insurance industry. That's the first time I've ever said something like that. Wow, I am a fucking insurance nerd. Okay, I really do like commercial insurance. I don't know why, but I do. So, okay. So they're doing some really cool things. And really what they've done and is build in the step that I was always missing. So if you're wondering where in this process I always had a gap, it was between gathering information and sending the video proposal, right? It was, what do they need exactly, and where does it go? Where does it go is a huge issue in our industry. Where does the business go? Meaning, which one of all these carriers should I actually place it with? Because what most people do is go the path of least resistance. So I'm going to tell you where this idea came from. I had a producer at Rogue, and she had 2 epic months in a row. She was crushing it, right? And I'm like, and I missed the sales meeting for the first month. So I showed up to the second month meeting, and her name was Sam. And I just said, Sam, like, so freaking happy. Like, I'm so happy for you. Like, you're dominating. Like, it's great. How are you doing it? And she goes, oh, I got all these contractors in, and like, I really got kind of I'm getting comfortable with the script, and, I'm feeling, I seem to work like, she's kind of like a military type woman. She just really related to contractors. She's awesome. I really like her, but, and she related to them. And I was like, oh, that's great. I go, where are you putting it? She goes, Hiscox. And dude, I almost fell out of my friggin' chair. Like, and nothing against anyone from Hiscox if they're listening, but for like contractors, it's not prime market.
Yeah.
Hiscox is great, I guess, but not where I wanted to go. Additionally, we're getting there through an MGA, and we're only getting 9% commission, right? So now I'm like, we have like 5 other contracting markets that pay us between 15 and 20%. You're losing a lot of money, right? So, and I said, okay, so why are you going Hiscox? And she goes, it's easy, which it is. She goes, it's easy, and I know it. And I go, okay. So the issue is not that she, the issue is, she was going there because she didn't understand the appetites of the other markets as well, right? And she didn't understand their portal as much, right? So one thing we did was implement portal training for all our carriers, because I'm not a huge comparative rating fan in commercial insurance. I think there's been a lot of really good attempts. Big fan of Rags and Tarmica, et cetera. Semsi's doing some good work, but it's less the technologists and more the carrier APIs that make the rating struggle. That's I don't want to indict them because I know they're doing good work. Our whole model was going directly to portals. So, but her primary issue was it was the only place that she was aware of that wrote these type of businesses. So we created this spreadsheet that would make your brain melt of like if-then statements to get you to what market preferences we had. All right. So coming all the way back to Langille, what this tool does is it's brought together the language of insurance and there were 1,800 attributes for all 40 million plus businesses in the United States and mashed them all together and essentially created a co-pilot that all you have to do is put in name of business and address, and everything that you could need to know to write that account comes out. Risk profiles, coverage recommendations, how to package those up into actual policies, common exclusions, common eligibility issues, on and on and on, as well as the ability to pull essentially all the firmographic data, all the pre-fill data that you could possibly need. And it's accessible at everyone's fingertips for $59 a month. It's ridiculous. Again, I have a problem with underpricing things. The idea here is every producer becomes a specialist on every account every time, right? You've never written a pallet manufacturer before? Put it into Link Copilot. You haven't written a bakery in the state of Florida before? Put it into Link Copilot. You can not only find out how to write that specific business, and this is really where the AI technology takes it to another level, right? It's not bakeries, it's John Smith's Cupcakes of Western Fort Lauderdale, right? Maybe John Smith's cupcake bakery, he's got 3 locations, or maybe he's got 2 locations and a manufacturing plant, right? Where he actually puts a bakery, where he actually puts the bakery together, right? It pulls in the data to that specific business and walks you through how to write that specific business.
Wild.
Yeah. So
That's
like I
wild,
look
man.
at that and I'm like, it's funny. The two founders, I joke with them. I'm like, you sons of bitches. I'm like, if you had come out with this 2 years ago,
Yeah.
this would
Yeah.
have went in a rogue immediately and we'd
Yeah.
be freaking crushing. So
Yeah.
no,
It's awesome.
so I appreciate that. If you want to check it out, guys, just go to Linkura, Liquraliqura, Linkura.com and check us out.
Awesome. And mastertheclose.com. And if you need
Mastertheclose.com.
you need a website for your insurance agency, advisorevolve.com.
This sounds like a ShamWow commercial.
I know, right?
One more.
And there's more. No, man, I appreciate you coming on, dude. It's always a pleasure. And we got to do it more often, man.
Yeah.
It's, we could come on here and bro it out for hours. We don't want to do that to our audience here, but it's cool to reconnect, man, and see what you're doing these days. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with the course. I know a lot of agencies can use that type of training and process, and in conjunction with potentially Quote Viz, who knows what type of impact that could have on agencies, man. So thank you very much, brother, for jumping on, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode of Rise and Bind.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.